everybody, and welcome back to the range. It's that time again for the January monthly giveaway. And Chris, Junkyard Designs, congratulations, brother. I hope you enjoyed this lethal diesel custom that you're about ready to see. I really enjoyed doing the Gaslands build of this, so I wanted to do another one. So why don't we head on down to the range and let's get started. You know, like I said earlier, I've done a lethal diesel before as a Gasland build and it turned out great. And I had another one of the castings sitting around, and I've always wanted to try something different with this. And before I started doing the video recording, I actually was trying to pre-mock up some parts and stuff. The posts were already drilled out, and you know, I already had the set of wheels picked out. I already had an idea what I was wanting to do with it. So, you know, I kind of started prepping, getting like axle tubes ready, getting certain things that I wanted to be put on it, you know, that kind of thing. You know, I picked out the engine I wanted, what I was going to do with it. And, you know, I already got the front end set up. I kind of bent some axle tube to the way I wanted it, make it look like that hot rod front end. And it wasn't easy, but it turned out really nice in the end, and actually looks like it's part of the front end when I'm done with it. And, you know, you see the parts up at the top left corner, you know, the engine, you know, you see some brass rod and some other stuff. You know, what I ended up doing was cutting off the front end and part of the back end. And, you know, I was gonna use the plate that the front end portion came on, but I ended up cutting it off because it didn't really work the way I was wanting. So I ended up doing it a little different. You know, the wheels I picked out because they just looked really cool, and I just had them sitting around. They came off of a Big Time Muscle. So one I don't have anymore. I kind of got this like months ago. So, you know, I thought, you know, I wanted big tires in the back, small tires in the front. Kind of smoothing out the area so the tires would actually roll up against it when I got done building the rear end of it. Because I didn't really use most of the actual base for this thing. I only used like the base part that the body sat on. I didn't use the front part for the wheels. I didn't use the back part for the wheels. I ended up cutting those off. And a lot of my stuff I did off camera because it literally was like almost 3 hours of footage total. This was one of my longer builds when it came to video footage, and it was also like total video time took a bit. You know, I had a lot of custom stuff done to it, and that's why I pre-fabbed a lot of the work before I started filming, because I knew it was going to be a lot of work, especially what I had intended for it. And I knew it was going to be a lot of video footage. You know, I was really happy with the final results. The only thing that fought me really was the paint. And it wasn't that it turned out bad, it's just there was a lot of overspray the first time I did the paint. So I had to redo the paint. But all in all, it came out really, really good. And Chris, you know, man, I know you're a big fan of mine, and you know, you deserve this. You know, you've always been positive towards me. You've always, you know, kept my motivation up. You and many others that have subscribed to my channel, which I'm up past 90 now. So I'm really happy, and I thank everybody that watches my videos. You know, it means a lot to me that you guys like my videos, and it really, really helps me. You know, I've gotten so much better from my first video, which was the Gaslands motorcycle. I really enjoyed that one. I've gotten a lot better equipment since then, and thank you guys. I can't thank you guys enough. And you know, you see what I'm doing to the front end here. You know, this part I got from Benchwork Toys. It was rat rod front end that you can get from Benchwork Toys. You know, I kind of modified it a little bit, kind of trimmed it down, attached it to the base of the actual car. And you see kind of what I'm mocking up. I'm doing something. I thought about using the back part, but then I was like, you know what? I planned on doing something different, making it look a little different in the back end. So I'm filing down a groove because I'm going to be putting a movable axle piece, which, you know, is more for looks right now than anything. But it does function. So, and, you know, I got the way I setting up, and, you know, I just kind of wanted to make it look like a hot rod dragster in a way. And, you know, I had to groove out a lot of spots, you know, just so it'll move up and down, and so it'll just kind of go with the flows, I should say. You know, I got these little clips from Walmart, I think it was. They're kind of like the hair clips for little girls' hair and stuff like that, woman's hair. And honestly, I felt these are a little bit easier to work with, honestly, because, you know, they're smaller and they're about the size that I need. But I had to cut out a little groove spot to put it through to get it to fit, actually. And the interior is kind of pieced together. There was no interior for the actual Lethal Diesel itself. There was no interior, so I had to make one out of scratch pieces, which, you know, really turned out good. You know, I ended up making a roll cage. You'll see that here soon. And this was actually probably one of my better complete customs, I think. And, you know, because I did that pickup truck a while back, you know. I think it was a 34 Ford, I can't remember. But I did that one pretty much custom, but this one actually turned out a little bit better. I liked how the wheels turned out, the way I did the axle tube front end. Instead of having it straight, I kind of bent it at the ends and made it kind of branch out to where it actually looked like a front end of a rat rod, you know. And right here, I know a lot of people do their suspensions different and stuff, and I'm just kind of was wanting to make like a little more raised suspension in the back. You know, I wanted it functional. It works for the most part, and, you know, it looks really good. I was really happy with it. I had to change up the suspension part to where, like, originally I had it in two pieces so they could move independently, but it didn't work out that well. It kept wanting to pop out of the side and stuff, so I ended up making it one piece by running a brass rod through it and then bending it that way. And making it to where it was like one piece. You know, everything flowed together perfectly on this. You know, I had to kind of modify the back end because the original way I was trying to do was some styrene tube, drill some holes in it, and put the brass rod in that way. But I ended up taking square tubing instead, drilling some holes and putting it in that way instead. Made it squared off in the back. Kind of sanded it down and kind of rounded it off on the bottom where, you know, it looked a little bit better. And what I'm doing, you know, I'm just making sure that everything's going as planned. You know, I'm sticking the steel rods at the top, gluing them in, you know, kind of making sure they're going to sit straight up and down. I'm mocking up the engine, and, you know, I don't remember where I got this dashboard and steering wheel from, but it was from another casting, and I kind of trimmed it up and put it in there and mocked it up, you know, just kind of seeing if it'll fit right. And it did. It honestly, after I got done trimming it and moving where I needed it to go, it actually sat in there perfectly, you know. And, you know, it worked so well. I couldn't have been happier with the way it worked out. it, I don't know, it just looks amazing to me. And you know, the hardest part was trying to figure out like a roll cage kind of deal. And when I was doing a roll cage, there was nothing in there to actually support the body onto the base anymore. So that's why I built a little roll cage, and I had to trim off the back post, so there are no posts holding this thing together. It's just pure friction. And you know, modifying some steel wire that I twisted together kind of helped out. You know, I started filing the area, but it was taking too long, so I ended up switching to my Dremel tool and the sander piece for it, and trust me, that worked so much better. I was really happy with it. And I ended up getting me some round needle nose pliers, the rounded ones, so they're easy to make curves and stuff. So I knew those was going to help me with future builds when I'm doing like hoods and doors and stuff like that, so I can easily bend them into a perfect circle almost. And the only thing I really had to do, you know, honestly, I had to glue these metal pieces together, because soldering stuff don't work with this. And no, this ain't soldering wire that I'm using. It's just regular steel wire that I got from Hobby Lobby. And in order to get it to work, I had to angle the wire, the steel wire, kind of sloping down towards the front to get it to fit perfectly onto with the body. And I really, it turned out really good. I couldn't have done it better myself, which I did. You know, and right now what I'm working on is I'm taking some styrene. I'm going to be closing off the front and the back, and just trying to make it to where it looks like it's closed off, so it's got like a firewall it's blocking. And you know, that was the hardest part, was making sure it would fit with the makeshift firewall. And the back part was easy to do. You know, I kind of filled it in after I got a piece cut up. You'll see here, you know, I cut it up and I filled it with milliput. And after the milliput was dry overnight, you know, I ended up sanding down and smoothed out perfect. Like, you can't even tell there's milliput there. And so it really worked out. You know, because once you paint it, you can tell where all the flaws were at, but I can't really tell if there's a flaw in it or not. It looks like it's all one piece, so I'm pretty happy with that. You know, and what I'm doing, I'm trying to find a secure way to attach for the springs, the rear springs, and I'm ending up putting a wing on it. You know, like a kind of a dragster wing, in a way, with using twisted metal. I ended up using some, changing it up, put some round styrene instead, and it held a lot better, I think. You know, the way I set it up, and you'll see it's different in the final result than it is on the video, because like I said, I did a lot of the build off camera, because, you know, I just wanted to kind of make the video as short as I possibly could, but not too long. And man, I was really happy with the design. You know, from the beginning all the way to the end, the cuts were smooth. And here's the wing I'm doing, making it out of styrene, and, you know, the steel wire, I'm using styrene tubing to kind of attach the wing pieces together and to the body itself. And here I am making my exhaust. Everybody wants to know how I do the exhaust sometimes. What I did was I took a piece of flat styrene, I drilled some small holes in it, took some small small styrene rod, and I put them in the styrene rod into the holes and glued them in. And then I trimmed up the flat styrene to the point where it kind of looks like a manifold, you know, kind of sanded that down to the edges, curved them a little bit, and I ended up doing the flat styrene 4 times total, because I ended up putting some braces to keep them separated, keep the exhaust from like popping together. And this isn't the motor I ended up using in the end, so you'll wonder why. It was kind of like more of like a mock-up than anything. And here I am drilling the holes for the second set of exhaust. And the way I was originally planning on doing this, it didn't work out too well. So, you know, I didn't have any issues restarting. I think this way looks better. And it's so much better looking, I believe. You know, here, you see the supports for the extra exhaust. You know, some cars got them, some cars don't. You know, I wanted this one to, you know, kind of have them so it looked neat. And you know, like I said, I did it 4 times. And it ended up working out really well. Because exhausts aren't that hard to make. They're really not. And I've made my exhaust multiple ways. So this is just one of like 4 that I've made exhaust out of so far. And you know, the hardest part is trying to make sure you have the right size to fit up against the actual motor that you use. And I know there's a lot of people that makes their own exhaust and stuff like that, so it's not too difficult. You know, after I'm done sanding and smoothing everything out, making sure it's the way I want it, I just took, I think I took the round needle nose pliers that I got, and I just kind of, at the end of the bracket that holds them together, I ended up bending all 4 of the styrene tube downward, because, you know, I didn't want it coming straight out the sides. You know, I wanted to actually look like an exhaust coming down the side. And I took a longer piece of styrene after I got done with this and put glue on the tips of the styrene tube that I already had, and just glued the long piece right alongside it and kind of curved up the very front exhaust pipe, made it look like it was kind of flowing down into it, and smoothed it out, and just stuck it straight back. Now what I did for the exhaust tips, I ended up getting some JDM exhaust tips in from Benchwork Toys a while back. And what I did was I trimmed off part of them and drilled a hole in it big enough to fit the styrene. And then I just glued the styrene piece into the tip, and bam, exhausts were done. You know, I know the video is kind of speeding up a little bit, and probably what I'll do is I'll do a more in-depth, you know, footage of me doing exhaust. This is just me explaining to you what I'm doing. There's a long part of styrene that I'm smoothing out and just curving up to the actual mufflers, and not mufflers, god, what am I thinking? But, you know, that kind of deal. You know, here's the engine I ended up actually using in the end. I gave it a chrome paint job to, you know, kind of give it the look of an engine. You know, did some little hand painting on it, and, you know, trying to determine how long I wanted the exhaust to set. And I had to cut a little tunnel in for the engine, so it had the transmission part of it be able to go through and, you know, kind of make it look like it was part of the car. You know, I didn't show any of my painting on film because, like I said, it would have been just too long of a build if I would have done every bit of that. And I just wanted to show the key parts in it, so you guys don't really see what color I painted until the very end of this video. And, you know, here I am drilling the holes for the tips from the JDM exhaust tips. And they, man, I love how they turned out. I really do. I didn't put any kind of outrageously big exhaust tip on them. But, you know, I have this aluminum paint, this wicked aluminum that I got from Hobby Lobby. It's Createx. And, you know, I tried just using that to paint over, but it didn't work so well. This is what we started off with. You know, great casting. I love it. Looks like a Humvee. So that's kind of why I got multiple castings of it. I was really happy with how this video turned out, how the footage turned out. I really hope, Chris, you like this car, because it's yours, buddy. So let's head on and check out the final result.
Check it out. Check it
And I'll see you next time at the range.